Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. First order of business, thank you so much to the current subscribers. Thank you so much to the new subscribers. Welcome aboard. I hope to do a giveaway when I get to 1,000 subscribers. My first degree is in art, so some lucky viewer will be able to get a piece of my artwork. Today we're going to talk about how the Arizona grand jury put down an indictment against Lori Vallow. We mentioned that in a previous video, but what happened was in this grand jury there was a probable cause synopsis that was released that has a ton of information, and it's got a whole lot of other people mentioned in it, not just Chad, Lori, and Alex. I know, guys. And it also kind of ties into the previous video where we talked about how the attorneys went down to Arizona and certain parties got use immunity and certain parties didn't, and then this kind of all ties it in. And then remember, I did that really long, wordy 2-hour video of the timeline. So instead of going and redoing the timeline, what we're going to do is just thread through the new information in the old timeline. So that's what this video is going to do. Instead of just reading that probable cause synopsis to you, because other people have done that and I don't need to do it as well, I'm going to just go threading in the new information around what we already knew to try to make it make more sense. Okay, remember back in the timeline that, in my opinion, I've cobbled together. Again, opinions are not facts. You know, you can go in a court of law and find that maybe somebody was inaccurate or lied on the stand, but we've cobbled this together from what people have said. On October 26, give or take, 2020, that was when the state of Utah thinks or has alleged that Chad and Lori began planning their crimes. That being the crimes that ended up happening where Tylee was killed, where JJ was killed, where we hadn't drugged Charles into it yet, okay? Those crimes. Well, guess what, guys? Now the state of Arizona is dragging it in. Utah had said around the 26th of October that there was an overt act done where they endorsed and espoused religious beliefs for the purpose of encouraging and or justifying homicide. That was the overt act, and that was when the state had said it had generally started up. Now, some people claim that this is the date that Chad and Lori first met. I don't believe so. I think that they had met earlier, but I mentioned that before. And then you had on the 30th of October, those emails allegedly that went from allegedly from Chad to Lori, and then I think other people saw them as well, rating the people in Lori's life in this light and dark. I call it the good and evil scale. It was called, I believe, Family History Documents was the title of the email, and then the attachment had this light and dark with different people's names and whether they were essentially good or bad. 5 days prior to that, allegedly, is give or take, when there was an email between Chad and Lori on how religious beliefs can be used to justify deaths. All right. Okay, so that's what we already knew. Now we're threading in the Arizona's probable cause information, and they're saying that by November 3rd, so 3 days later, that's when they have their first evidence to cause harm proof. They said, this is in their probable cause affidavit. That's their job to prove it, okay? But I'm just telling you what's in the document. On November 3rd, at around 2:40, Zulema, I guess, texts Lori that she was told by God that she is to protect her. That's the first part of this. They're going to build it using circumstantial evidence. Okay, so you might think, well, that means nothing. Well, let's build it. In January of 2019, Zulema tells Lori, I guess that's texts Lori, that she had a vision that she could create storms and fire and will have the eye of the Lord. So it's almost, in my opinion, putting Zulema kind of like on the same level of Alex as this protector of Lori. We already knew that, say, November 16th to the 17th, that's when that was a prepper event where Chad gives a talk. He may have stayed at Lori's house while Charles was out of town, right? And that was like a spiritual conference, and Melanie was there. And that we also believe that this is around the time they were sealed together to each other in the temple, like sealed in their minds. Okay, so this is when this stuff is still going on. So let's skip in time. January 22nd, 2019, Chad emails Lori, demon with a name, Nick Schneider. Nick Schneider was the demon that was allegedly inhabiting Charles. Why that isn't added to the Arizona stuff and tagging Chad in there, I don't know why. Okay? Sorry. So Chad had allegedly already tagged Lori's current husband, at that time it was Charles, with the demonic brush. We know that Charles and Lori start having trouble because he suspects she's having an affair with Chad. And this is when Lori does that whole thing where Charles goes out of town and she wipes him out. Like, she goes into the joint bank accounts and takes the $35K out in multiple transactions and moves his truck and cancels his plane flight and makes it hard for him even to get home, moves the enterprise points, that you could use at the rental car agency, the whole nine, takes his underwear and hides it and gets rid of everything. And yeah, okay, so that happens. And then Charles, between January and July of 2019, is reaching out to the Cox family to try to get Lori help, to try to have an intervention. And at this point, Adam Cox is the good son, in my opinion, of the Cox family, and Alex Cox is the bad son. So Alex Cox has been sort of Lori's avenging angel, and Charles is reaching out to the members of the Cox family who are willing to hear him out. That, hey, I didn't have an affair on Lori. She's just, into this thing with Chad, and let's get her an intervention because of these religious beliefs, right? Okay, so this stuff is going on. Remember, around February 4th, that is when Charles starts going to his attorney. He files an order of protection against Lori and told his attorney that if anything happens to him, that Lori and Alex did it. Not Chad. Lori and Alex did it. Okay. On February 8th, 2019, Charles starts the process of filing the divorce against Lori. It's officially filed on February 14th, and the divorce requests sole custody of JJ, the return of the money that Lori took from the business account, and it also noted that she had threatened his life. At that point, Lori is staying with her brother, Alex Cox, in Santan Valley, Arizona, during that period. So multiple attempts were made to serve Lori with the divorce papers and for the protection order, but it's unsuccessful because she's just bouncing all around. She's trying to avoid service. She even goes to Hawaii at some point. On February 6th, this is the new information. On February 6th, Lori texts Zulema telling her that Charles was blocking her gifts. Okay? Blocking her gifts. There is discussion allegedly in this text to cause harm to Charles, who was referred to as a dark spirit called Ned or Hiplos. Now, Hiplos. Don't know what that means. Don't know what it means to Mormon mythology. Don't know who Hiplos is. If it was just another name like Nick and Ned Schneider pulled out of Chad's portal, I don't know. But long story short, the new information is Lori's texting Zulema about how Charles is blocking her. And there's some discussion about causing harm to him. Now, could it be spiritual harm? Casting a spell on him or something? Harm is harm, okay? Now, granted, someone may argue that maybe it was just supposed to be like, raining forth the earthquake on him or like hail on his head. I don't know. But apparently Zulema was aware of the trouble between them. And you can read between the lines that Zulema believed that she needed to protect Lori, and that Charles was blocking gifts. Gifts, in my opinion, is code for money, the insurance. Okay? Not making it easy for her to take his money, and that she needed help with this dark spirit. So on February 8th, remember, this is what we already knew, that Charles changes the beneficiary designation on his $1 million life insurance policy to his sister Kay Woodcock to make sure that JJ would eventually be the beneficiary of the money, that Kay would do right by JJ. That was allegedly what Charles was thinking. Okay, so this is fitting in nicely. We're finding out more information. Now imagine what we're going to find out at the trial in Idaho. But Arizona has some info too. So let's tie it in. So this is going on. He's changed his beneficiary designation. All right. And remember on April 9th, 2019, We already knew that allegedly Julie Rowe was excommunicated from the LDS for claiming multiple mortal probations. And remember, in the fall, there's also been chatter that Chad was also excommunicated from the LDS, though there is no evidence of this, and I believe he still went to the temple, okay? But you got to think that if Julie Rowe, who is also had books published, Chad published her books, not all of them, but some of them, that's a problem, okay? Once you get excommunicated, then those books aren't going to be able to be sold in the Mormon bookstores, and then it's kind of puts a taint on Chad because they're associated, right? So keep that in mind. Now there's drama with the main church, which we know there was. So then, this is about the time that everything starts kicking off in June of 2019. We already knew this. This is when Melanie Boudreau Pulowski tells her husband Brandon she wants a divorce. He says he claims it came from out of nowhere, it came from out of the blue, and that he chalked it up to Melanie wanting to leave because she was in this cult with Lori. Now here's what Arizona has come forth with. June 3rd, 2019. Lori sends a text to redacted, so we still don't know who it is. Sometimes you can put 2 and 2 together and figure out who it is. If so, I'll tell you who I think it is. I'm not sure. So Lori sends a message to someone regarding Charles. Quote, just got home and got JJ to sleep. Let's go spiritually tonight and work on him. We give the timing to the Lord, but we don't need to relent. This is war. So someone, okay, could it be Zulema? Possibly. I don't know who is redacted here, but we've already had Zulema mentioned already in this affidavit. Could be her, could be more. Could be one of the Melanies. I don't know. That would be speculation. That would be wrong. Someone is going to work on Charles spiritually, give the timing to the Lord, but we don't need to relent. This is war regarding Charles? Oh, I'm smelling a hint of a little bit of more of a conspiracy. Not just with Alex and Lori and Chad, but maybe with some others. Do you smell it too? Do you smell that? Yeah. See, because in this, let me say this real clear. In this probable cause affidavit, Chad is not redacted and Alex is not redacted. Alex is not redacted because he's dead and they have no reason to redact him. So you can always assume if it has a word redacted, it's not Alex and it's not Chad. Sorry to be so melodramatic. This gets you frustrated. This is coming from the Arizona court. June 19, 2019, redacted back to Lori. Oh, and can you meet me at the temple in the morning? I have time tomorrow and we can work on Hiplos. Now we know Hiplos is Charles. So somebody's texting Lori, can you meet me at the temple? I have time and we can work on Hiplos. What are they doing? What kind of spiritual warfare were they waging on her poor husband? So on June 21st, 2019, Lori performed searches regarding Social Security. Now remember, Tylee was getting some Social Security from Joe's death, and allegedly there was some kind of a Social Security regarding JJ. And if something was to happen to Charles, she would get something. I mean, he was still her husband. Okay, so she makes it a little look-see. June 22nd, 2019, the very next day, regarding Charles, aka Hiplos, Alex sends to redacted. So Alex sends a text out. It's regarding Charles. And he's just like, hey, it's Alex. So I know that's kind of anticlimactic, but it was obviously somebody. It's a part that they needed to tie in. It's a brick in the evidence chain that they're going to build, but we don't know the importance of it because it's redacted. So apparently Alex is in on this, and he is texting someone that's redacted. On June 22nd, that's the same day, we already knew that Lori, Melanie, Jason Mao, and someone named Thor did a Time to Warrior Up podcast. So Alex isn't seemingly there. He maybe was there and just wasn't on the podcast. So sometimes you can go and just by deduction kind of figure out who it was, because let's say Alex was there at the house, he wouldn't be needing to text somebody there at the house, right? Just FYI. So in June of 2019, Charles and Lori, they're still married, but the divorce is on hold, okay? Charles has rented a house for Lori in Chandler, Arizona. This is the rental home that will later be the location of Charles's death. So this is also around the time that the PIN number to Charles's life insurance account is changed. And he discovers that someone has changed the PIN. He calls the life insurance company. He says, I need to ensure that the listed beneficiary on my policy is Kay Woodcock, and he makes sure that that's intact. Guess who probably didn't get that memo? The person who later is in a conspiracy to kill him, allegedly, in my opinion. What comes out of the Arizona court is on June 27th, about 10:18 in the a.m., someone sends a text to Lori. Do you think there's a way to change Hiplos to the light? So someone's texting Lori right around the time that all the stuff with the PIN numbers getting changed and maybe the life insurance beneficiary designations getting changed, and what she thinks doesn't get changed back. Someone is asking Lori, do you think there's a way to get Charles back to the light? In other words, is there any way we don't have to do this? Can we get him to be on our side? Do we have to do this? That's my opinion, but we don't know yet who that is. Oh, and also, just FYI, on redactions, you can get really technical, and if someone has a weird name, a real long name, you can kind of figure out who it is by, let's say you have a really long hyphenated name where you can tell who it is when it's under a redaction. Just FYI. Or if someone has a name like Bo, B-O, Bo, then you can always tell who they're talking about because it's only the space of 2 characters. So if you really want to get anal, you can figure some things out. June 28th or 29th, 2019, we know this already in our timeline, that this is when Charles discovers this fictitious email, the email that purports to be from Charles to Chad, asking Chad to come to his home to stay and help him get a book underway. Charles was perplexed because he was not writing a book, okay? Not asking Chad Daybell, of all people in the world, to come and stay at his home. In fact, he's suspicious of Chad Daybell, all right? That's what we knew. Now we know that Charles confronted Lori regarding the email. This is what we find out from this probable cause affidavit, or not affidavit, the probable cause synopsis. The quote was, "Come clean by the end of their day or I will tell." Lori, come clean about your affair with Chad Daybell or I will tell. Do you see that the pressure was a lot more than, they were just going around and Charles had, JJ, and then Lori had JJ. Oh, yeah, and someone tried to change the account. No, this is pressure building. This is building. This is people getting involved. This is people working on him, maybe physically, spiritually. This is people marshaling around. This is a conspiracy. After finding this faked email, we know that Charles talks to Adam Cox as well, Lori's good brother, her other brother, noting to him that Lori and Chad Daybell were up to something. And he allegedly wrote to Adam, "I'm going to send it to Chad Daybell's wife," this fake email. "Her name is Tammy. I found her email address on their website. I've got her cell number too." We do not know to this moment whether Charles ever contacted Tammy, but basically with him telling Lori, "Dude, I saw this, and if you don't come clean to me, I'm telling." So this is more intense, more dramatic, more heightened, if you will, than assuming that he had just talked to her family and was trying to intervene rather than him directly confronting her and telling her, "I'm gonna tell." Allegedly, Lori had been spending all this time at the temple, 8 hours at the temple, and Charles had asked Adam Cox to record Lori's crazy beliefs and give the recording to her bishop so that she would lose her temple access. And he thought that Charles thought that taking a break from the temple would be good for Lori. It would make her better, make her come to her senses. Now we found out from the Arizona synopsis that Charles and Adam had actually planned an intervention around July the 10th, but Lori found out on July the 9th. Somehow Summer Shiflett, that's Lori's sister, was either involved or had knowledge or something, because it's in this document, okay, about the intervention. And Lori was telling her family and people, that they, meaning Charles and Adam, were trying to kill her for the life insurance money. Now, to me, this is the finest form of projection. That's what you want to do, so that's what you assume that other people are doing. There are texts seemingly between the mother, Janice Cox, Lori's own mother, talking about doing some kind of a preemptive strike to confront, I think it's Adam. So in other words, Lori was telling, this is me trying to speculate. Lori was talking to her mother in summer and saying, Adam is talking to Charles, and Charles wants me dead for my life insurance, and Adam's, they're going to do a intervention on me. And instead of talking sense to their child, their daughter Lori and sister, saying, hey, let's meet as a family and talk this out, they're kind of like running interference against Charles and Adam, their own sibling, okay? So their texts, like I said, seemingly where Janice is either offering to do a preemptive strike and confront her own son, Adam, but seemingly Summer and her mother were collecting information for Lori. So this isn't good. When you're trying to do an intervention on someone, any kind, be it medical, be it, I won't say spiritual, be it mental, you do not want that person to know about it ahead of time and then have other people looking to undermine the intervention. So I guess that's what happened, because July 10th, 3:58 p.m., Lori tells Summer that she heads to Alex's house. Lori continues messaging Charles and never confronted him about knowing something had been planned regarding the intervention. And Lori reached out to a redacted person and convinced her to cancel a trip to Utah for a wedding and wrote, "You can't go at all. We both need to stay here and defend ourselves. It's coming to a head. This week will change everything." Now think, this person that she reaches out to and convinces them to cancel a trip to Utah to a wedding is not Alex. They won't redact Alex, okay? And they're not going to redact Chad. So who is she feeling that is a part of this to such an extent that that person needs to be by her side? The circumstantial evidence is starting to stack up, and it's not just the triad, the unholy triad of Chad, Lori, and Alex that's now dead. It looks like maybe there are some other people playing parts. Now, the states are going to have to prove the knowing of a conspiracy, the intentionality of the conspirators, the other parties. If there's other ones, they're going to have to prove it, that they meant this. But it's starting to stack up with some more evidence, isn't it? On July 10th, Charles texts Lori that he'll be there the next morning, the fateful day, around 7:30, to pick up JJ, take him to school on Wednesday. We found out that he had hoped to bring JJ back to his hotel for breakfast instead of taking him to BK. And however, the next morning was Charles's last day on the earth. Okay. Now, we all know that I think that the way the thing went down in the rented place was all baloney. I said it before. Guess what? The Arizona grand jury agrees. So I'm not even going to go through the baloney story of Charles coming in and starting a fight with Alex and, tightly getting the bat out and all that. That's just bull, okay? I believe they set upon him. I never believed for 1 second in any of that story. And it turns out our instincts are right, okay? Because the Arizona grand jury document says the evidence shows that Charles's death was a planned event and necessary to prevent Charles and others from confronting Lori. I'm sorry, my battery died. That's where I left off. The Arizona grand jury synopsis was saying that the evidence shows that Charles's death was a planned event and necessary to prevent Charles and others from confronting Lori. So there's mention that a later investigation revealed that a bullet struck the ground near Charles's body and that seemingly Charles was shot while he was on the floor. So allegedly, the first shot that Alex shot into Charles could have happened the way it was described, meaning how they were standing. But the second bullet seemingly was done while Charles was flat on his back, which is not the story that Alex purported. And there was a bullet, I guess, like had grazed the ground. So it was pretty obvious that Charles was shot while he was already down on the ground. And we now know from the documents that came out that Charles's cell phone was on Lori. Because I had always been talking about how, where was Charles's cell phone? Why didn't the police get Charles's cell phone? Yada, 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 right? Well, it was on Lori. So at 7:49, Lori takes Charles's phone and leaves that property. Now we know exactly what time everything happened, when she had it, and where she was, because I'm sure she also rang up charges, places. Maybe she paid cash. I don't know. We'll find out more information. This is just circumstantial, but it'll come in if necessary to prove this, that she had a hand in the conspiracy to kill her husband. She goes to Burger King to get the chicken fries for JJ. Mind you, her husband has just been shot on the ground. Then she goes to Walgreens with Tylee and they get flip-flops for herself and Tylee. I know. And then she returns to the crime scene at 8:48. So she leaves at 7:49. She comes back at 8:48, and Alex calls 911 at 8:32. So what that's telling you is that Charles lay dead or dying for 43 minutes before 911 was called. And how do we know? How is this timeline tightened back up? Because Lori took Charles's cell phone and left the house with it. That's real smart, Lori. Real smart. This is where the circumstantial evidence is like a brick in a wall, and it just one brick after another brick after another brick. And if you take one brick on its own and laid it on the ground, you're not going to know the structure of the building. But if you build it up, you'll see, and it'll be stable, and sometimes more stable than, say, a witness statement or someone that just sees something. You'll have statements and documents where she went to Burger King and bought the chicken fry receipt, and then her going to Walgreens and buying the flip-flops, and you have the 911 operator call in, and you have all these times, and then you have the medical examiner, and it all just builds up, and then all these other witnesses coming forward saying, hey, I knew that she was going to kill him. I mean, and then pretty soon, everybody in the whole courtroom's going to think you did it. So anyway, an audio then came to light, and we knew this, that wherein Melanie Gibb is saying that the murder of Charles was planned self-defense. And that's an oxymoron. You don't plan self-defense, right? Planned self-defense is premeditated murder. So anyway, we know now Lori took both the rental car and she took the cell phone. I think then the police got a hold of the cell phone, but she didn't leave it there at the condo beside Charles's body, where if she had half a brain, that's where she would have left it. I guess I cannot imagine that she was so desperate that she took that phone and left with it, because it didn't track everything, timeline, and who was where when. That just kills me. Also, and we know how Lori reacted whenever someone dies. She's not exactly on top of letting the family members know of the person's death. And we know that she lied to Colby and told him that Charles had died of a heart attack. And then she was reluctant and slow to tell Charles's children about his death. And allegedly, according to the Arizona Synopsis, there's also some texts that show that Julie Rowe knew of Charles's death. I don't know if she was at the pool party. I don't know how she found out. It's there. Because the word Julie was not redacted. This is around the time, July 15th, where Lori's calling Charles's Vallow's life insurance company to get her sweet payout, her sweet $1 million payout, to only find out no money for you. No money for you, okay? She wasn't his listed beneficiary. And in my opinion, if Lori was not planning the deaths of the others, Tylee and JJ, now's the time. Because now she realizes she's not getting that money, and now she's got kids to take care of still, and she's not got this $1 million payout. So on July 18th, that's 3 days after she finds out, right? Lori texts Chad. So I talked to the insurance company, He changed it in March, so it was probably Ned before we got rid of him. We know Ned is also Charles, okay? Before we got rid of him. Ooh. They can't tell me to who, of course, but it's done. I'll get the $4K a month from Social Security. So Lori's concerned about the fact she wasn't the beneficiary, and woe is me, I'm only going to get $4K a month. By the way, I could live on $4K a month. You know what? Even at this point, lady, you've done this evil deed, in my opinion, you guys have done this evil deed. You can still survive on that Social Security money. But you're greedy. You're greedy. That's my opinion. All right. So at this point, she's stewing that she didn't get the money, and she finds out, allegedly finds the form that's got Kay listed, and she texts Kay on July 29th, 2019, a photo of the change of beneficiary form listing Kay Wilcock as the beneficiary, and puts a little sassy comment, 5 kids and no money, and his sister gets everything. So she's butthurt. She's raging that she didn't get this life insurance money. The next day is when Lori and Chad buy some more burner phones. And you know you're going to do something gnarly. You know you're going to do something shady and hinky if you're out there buying burner phones, okay? And around this time, according to the newly released document, there's a text from Chad to Lori that says, quote, I got the inspiration to go back to my original death percentages, ... Tammy's very close. There's more to this. There's more if you read it. I got the inspiration to go back to my original death percentages. Tammy's very close. Boy, Chad, the circumstantial evidence is getting stronger and stronger, and why they didn't drag him into this as well, I don't know. Maybe, again, they can always add him on. It's a conspiracy. Currently, Arizona has listed Lori and Alex, now deceased, in the conspiracy for first-degree murder against Charles, but it also has nuggets of other things. Forward in time to October 2nd, 2019, we know that there was an attempted murder on Brandon Boudreau, who is the husband of Lori's niece, Melanie, and he had been concerned about her growing religious obsession, this is me paraphrasing, and her relationship with Lori. And after he was shot at, and he recognized the car, and he thought he recognized the person as Alex Cox, he went into hiding. But meanwhile, we also find out that he provides the authorities with insight into the extreme religious beliefs of Lori and Alex. And he tells the police that he suspects these beliefs led to Charles's murder. So not only does he say, hey, I think they're trying to kill me, hey, I think they killed this dude. Okay, so as of October 3rd, Chandler, Arizona Police Department learns of the attempt on Brandon's life, and that Brandon also thought that Alex Cox had some hand in Charles's murder. So we know now that the police departments had a little more information, but probably didn't have enough to act, obviously. Wow, right? It's a circumstantial case. And sometimes a circumstantial case is better than an eyewitness who may be faulty. The circumstances are like bricks in a wall. And after brick after brick after brick is laid, you can get a really firm and solid foundation. I want to say that every single person I've mentioned in this video, they are innocent until deemed adjudicated guilty in a court of law. That's just the way it is. Just because they go in front of a grand jury with probable cause information and give you a synopsis doesn't necessarily make it true. Doesn't mean that any of the other side people that are mentioned are involved in a conspiracy. It just means that they have information that these people text these certain things, all right? So it's the state's job to prove that these other people are involved. It's the state's job to prove that Lori is involved, that Alex was involved, that there was a conspiracy. But yeah, it's not looking good, frankly, for the other folks that are on the fringes of this, that are doing the things that are seemingly being texted back and forth. That's not healthy. That wasn't helpful. It wasn't healthy, and it might have even been incriminating. So again, this case reminds me of the Manson case, and I'm not one of those folks that only knew about the Manson case from later movies or something. I remember I was in high school and some girl was really obsessed with it and got me to read Helter Skelter. And then I proceeded, because I loved true crime, and I loved Vincent Bugliosi's ability to tell a story. So then I read his other books, which are, one of my favorite books is a book by Vincent Bugliosi called And the Sea Will Tell. It was also made into a TV movie, but it is one of the best books in the true crime genre ever. Not to get sidetracked, but this person got me into the Manson case, and I wish I could show you on some of my bookshelves. I have every book by the Mansons, any of the people involved, their biographies, no matter how rare. I have all the stories, even books that just mention it in passing. I had, oh God, things from jail that were copied. I don't know, like I guess people that had written with Manson throughout the years, been pen pals, and like they had compiled things that were just like Xerox and then like put together, like not a real book. Like I have a whole ton of Manson stuff. So when I compare this to Manson on some level, I mean it. Like some people just say because it's a cult and because you have different people involved. But it is almost the true conspiracy, where people have to understand you don't have to have every single person acting out. All you need is agreement and like knowledge, okay? So if everybody kind of knows what's going on, in the sense of knows the main crime, like, hey, we want to get rid of Charles, we want to kill Charles, okay? You can have a religious reason for doing it. You can have a monetary reason for doing it. But if you're all knowing and intentional, you don't have to do every single act in the spoke of the conspiracy, right? You don't have to be there even. Just knowledge of it and telling somebody to do something and being a part of it can involve you in a conspiracy. And so, these other folks need to get attorneys if they don't have them, just to be safe. If they did not if they did not intend to hurt Charles or any of the other folks involved, if they did not have any knowledge or intention and harm these folks, they need to get attorneys, because it's not looking good for them. And I also want to add about the use immunity, because now this makes sense as to why, say, Zulema and Summer Shiflett went down to Arizona and allegedly met with the prosecutor, remember, and also the local PD. I don't know if they met with the FBI as well, okay? And there was the discussion about who got immunity and who said what to whom. And remember the kerfluffle we had in the Idaho cases, in the Idaho pre-conferences? Well, guess what? Now we're starting to understand why they were interested in talking to Zulema and why they were interested in talking to Summer, because their names are in text messages to Lori about certain things. And I also want to mention that some folks have a skewed idea about use immunity, all right? What someone would really want is total immunity. Total immunity, not just use immunity. Let me give you an example about use immunity. Say you're someone in this group and you've texted with Lori about her distaste for her husband, Charles, and you know that, she doesn't like him and thinks he's a monster and thinks he's been invaded by demons and zombies. And you're texting back and forth with her and you say, maybe I'll send an earthquake his way. And you seemingly are participating in this mindset, right? But you really aren't. You're just being sarcastic, all right? And let's say there's a couple things that are in that vein. And the prosecutor comes and says, ma'am, you wrote this. You texted this to Lori. This is your phone number, right? This is what you texted, right, ma'am? Right? And you say, you got your attorney there because you don't want to get yourself involved in this mess, right? But this is the level of what I've done. And you've talked with your attorney about your parameters of what you actually did, all right? And what you believed and what you knew, knowledge. And the attorney goes, my client will admit to this if you will give her use immunity. Meaning, this is what I know, all right? This is the truth. I will testify at trial that this is what I texted her and this is what she replied back. And this cannot be used against me. That's my agreement. I will come, I will agree to this. I will say it's true. I will talk, I will be responsible for this. But you cannot use this against me if things go sideways. You cannot bring it back and say, hey, looky, looky, you knew. Okay? This thing is off the table. These things that we've agreed about under use immunity are off the table. Now, let's say I come to court and I'm going to talk about how Lori talked about, I'm that person, you know, I've got use immunity. And I'm going to talk about, yep, this is my text and I sent it and she replied this back and oh, it's really bad, you know. But I've got use immunity. Let's say somebody else comes in and they've got text with me about something even, you know, dealing with this. That can come in. But I didn't tell the state about that. That's not on the table. That can come in against me. Some DNA that's found at the crime scene by a tech that I didn't say. You know, I didn't point the body out. You went and you found a body and my DNA's there. That comes in. Use of immunity is really limited. And it's limited to what you guys agree to. And seemingly these texts and the like have, for a certain person in this case, has been given use immunity. Does that mean that someone else can't come in, like say one of the Melanies, come in and have a whole bunch of stuff about you and throw it in that you didn't get cleared? Oh, that's coming in. So I'm just saying, like, people act like, oh, she's got immunity. No, it's not total immunity. It's not. It's use immunity. So if you think that use immunity is going to protect you if you've truly done something wrong, and there's evidence of that, you're mistaken. Just saying. And one would think that if the multiple she's, and the multiple he's, the other players who may get or may not get levels of immunity, one would think that if they truly were involved, that their attorney will get them to turn state's evidence and get them a total immunity. So they could be safe and knowing that for this crime, they won't get any charges. You following me? So let's talk about Manson really quick. You have Linda Kasabian. She was a lookout at the Tate LaBianca murders. Okay? She went there knowing that they were going to do helter-skelter. She knew that there were going to be murders going on. She did not get her hands dirty in the sense of getting blood on her hands. She was outside, but she, in a conspiracy, would be just as guilty as everybody else. However, she turned state's evidence, told every interaction she had with Manson, with all his followers, you know, she confessed to everything and said, yep, I'll turn state's evidence. They made her a witness. They gave her full immunity. And for the crimes that were committed, she couldn't be prosecuted. She had state's immunity. Now, if they went and dug somebody else up that she never, you know, admitted to or told them about, does that mean that she's immune for the rest of her life? No. Again, immunity still has some limitations. So you just have to be careful. You have to make sure that you get an attorney and you're honest with your own attorney and you get the best deal for yourself that you can. So we hope that justice is served. We want the people that actually got their hands dirty and were knowledgeable and had intent to actually pay the piper for what they did, right? And we want those who were just, I want to call them, the German, it's mitlaufen. That means it just went along with something. The level of culpability is less. If you just kind of went along with something, but you didn't understand at all what the intent was. You didn't understand, there was no knowledge. You were not a true spoke in the wheel. You're just like a piece of dirt, you know what I mean, that just got tossed around. You didn't understand the intent. You didn't understand what they're really going with it. You know, that person is a lesser level of culpability. And again, this is for the court to decide. And I'm going off on a tangent and I didn't mean to. So I hope this video helped to firm up the timeline as we know it, as we presume and speculate. And I just want to say, all the people that I've discussed here in the video, of course, are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. That's very important. We are speculating here. This is my opinion. These things that are facts that are coming out are things that people have sworn to in court or their records. Still, it has to be put together by the court and presented to a jury who are the finder of the truth. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please do the YouTube-y things. That's hit the like button. or the dislike button, and hit the subscribe bell. And I hope you leave a comment in the comment section below. And without further ado, have an excellent day.